Welcome to join us at EASD Miss China Daily Highlights. Here at the EASD annual meeting, we have the great pleasure to have Professor Andrew Hattersley from Exeter University with us. Professor, warm welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Professor, firstly, congratulations on winning the 57th Claude Bernard Lecture, which we know is a highly esteemed award. So would you please share your reflection on winning this Claude Bernard Lecture Award with us?
So I think it was a big surprise and an enormous honor to receive it. I have been coming to this meeting for so many times, and always my heroes have been the people giving the talk, and suddenly I found myself giving it. It was lovely because it was a chance to also talk to people around Europe and around the world who had been involved in our research. So it was an honor and an opportunity.
Thank you. You are very modest. Thank you. You are one of the heroes of many people, I guess, now, right? So, Professor, we know your team identified the key role of the KATP channel gene in neodiabetes and pioneered advancement in precision medicine. Would you please share with us how did you manage to overcome all the challenges in research and the clinical translation to achieve this great progress? Thank you.
Yeah, so what we had to do, the various stages were, first we needed to find the genetic cause of people with neonatal diabetes, and in the end we were able to rely on the biology of the people that had gone before us to help us choose which gene to look at. We had to choose 1 in 20,000, and Anna Gloin chose to look at the potassium channel, the inner subgroup of that, and it turned out that biology, which had said it was crucially important, was correct, and so by doing that we were able to find the gene. So that was our first step, and we needed, one of the barriers of finding the gene is to decide whether to is it a true finding, and you need to have lots of patients to statistically prove it. So one of the barriers we needed to get around was, could we get enough samples, and it was by working with pediatricians who were working with children with diabetes that we identified a group of patients who had it in the first 6 months of life. So that gave us lots of patients. So we had a definite proof that the gene was altered. The next bit was the translational precision medicine. So we had to show that that genetic change mattered for treatment. So that was something that we knew on theoretical grounds that the sulfonylureas should work, but we had to make it work, and the way we made it happen was to actually give patients tablets. Now that meant we had to take the big step, which was these people who'd been treated with insulin all their life, was to see if they benefited from sulfonylureas, and in the end 5 individuals around the world were prepared to do that, and we were helped because we had one patient who by chance had been given sulfonylureas when he was 3 months old, and now 46 years later he was still on sulfonylureas and he had very good glucose control. So a chance observation helped us think this would happen, and then it was fantastic, and when those patients did come off insulin and achieved excellent blood glucose control. So we'd gone from there not being no gene being found to finding a gene, and then moving on to the next step of finding that those patients responded to treatments and could come off insulin and have excellent control.
Thank you very much, Professor Hattersley, for your sharing and following what you just mentioned about the infants under 6 months with diabetes. So I think this is, as we know, is one of the most important achievements among many you have achieved, right? So by successfully incorporate gene testing recommendation for those infants into international clinical guidelines, right? So this is very important. So we think you may undergo many challenge difficulties in order to motivate multiple stakeholders, particularly globally, to implement this. So we wonder, can you share with us your experience in collaborating with international medical community to promote this innovative concept and drive a broad implementation of it? Thank you.
So I think one of the things that we found was that this effect was really dramatic. So it had an enormous impact on the families that had it, and also their own doctors, who never believed that somebody who was insulin dependent would come off insulin and go on to sulfonylureas. So you had a really massive change, and it's a small community of doctors that work with children, and they very much share their own experiences. And so what we found was that one of the things that was happening was that people were talking amongst each other, and that let the experience be known very broadly. And particularly when somebody would have a child very young with needing insulin, then they would contact other people, and so you didn't have to get to everyone. And very, very rapidly it became clear that doctors wanted this for their patients. So we didn't have to convince them, because they had a 50% chance, if they had the test, that their patient would not need insulin and would be controlled with tablets. So it wasn't selling a slight improvement in outcome, it was selling a complete immediate life change now. So the fact that the effect was so big really helped. And then we found that actually it wasn't a case where there was any resistance to this, because all we were saying is you either carry on treating them with insulin, or you do a genetic test and you have a 50% chance of not doing it. So there was a big effect, no barriers to it. And then the final thing was people would be against that being a guideline if they couldn't get genetic testing. So we had to make sure that genetic testing was available to people throughout the world. It couldn't be an international guideline if people couldn't get that testing. So what we needed to do was to share our results immediately with all the other people we know that did genetic testing for diabetes, so that they could do it, so that they could then offer it in their countries, and obviously make it publicly available so everybody could do it. But then there would still be countries that couldn't get it, and then we decided, with the help of the Wellcome Trust, that we'd be able to offer free testing. And so people then would send us samples of people under 6 months, and we were able to find the genetic cause. And so it was really, the things that stop things coming into guidelines are barriers. And so a lot of those barriers were overcome because there wasn't any reason not to do it. So you remove all the reasons for not doing it, and then you present the case so you could either test or not test. And very rapidly it became crucial.
Thank you, Professor Hattersley. I can really tell that when you are talking about your job, what you do, you are really very, very excited, right? So I wonder, here's the question. So your research has not only advanced scientific progress, but also can really benefit the patients. So that's very important. So I wonder what really motivates you to spend so much time and dedication and commitment into this work. And also, like you said, so those people who got the award, they are heroes, and you are also one of the heroes of them. So for this younger generation who are also entering this field in terms of research, do you want to give them some advice or some message you want to tell them how to do this work in the future? Thank you.
Yeah, I think that it was so motivating. It didn't feel that I was working hard to achieve this. It didn't feel like work because it was so enjoyable. And when you started to get feedback on the difference it had made for patients' lives, that changed the lives of the people in the laboratory that were doing the testing. They realized they weren't just a scientist doing a test, they were somebody whose test results could change things. And it had been a really chance finding. We hadn't aimed to do it. We hadn't gone out to try and find new treatment for patients with neonatal diabetes. We'd just been looking for a genetic cause, and then it came our way. And so that was really exciting. I think the advice I would give based on this would be that you should follow what you want to do and try to do things, and if something is going well, look to see what the next step would be and go along that pathway, go along the pathways that your research is taking you, because you never know where it will lead. Sometimes we feel we need to follow the whole field or whatever, but the crucial thing when you're a young researcher is there will be some areas where you find things which nobody else knows about, and you can build on those, and that's where, and just see where it takes you. Be prepared to stop if it's not going to be helpful, and to keep going when it is helpful, and hopefully we will make sure that people are supported.
Thank you. That's very, very helpful. I think since you mentioned the next step, so I would like to ask, in your opinion, what potential breakthrough do you foresee in the field of diabetes research would be?
Yeah, so I think, if you like, the idea of precision medicine applied to diabetes is a very exciting idea. It's also quite difficult to do, but what we would love to do is in type 2 diabetes to really be able to make sure that we give the right treatment to the right patient, and that will need very careful work, and I think that is a really interesting area. But also, how do we decide to not give everybody one treatment, but give some people one treatment and other people other treatment? How can we make that precision decision on not what is the overall best treatment, that's a good thing to know, but also for individual patients, what's likely to be the best treatment? So really bringing it down to a more individual level.
So that's how you foresee for the next step, right?
I think there's a lot to go there. That's an important step.
Okay, thank you very much for your informative and inspiring sharing with us, Professor Hattersley. Thank you very, very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you for asking.
Thank you. Bye-bye.